and thanks for coming to the call. I am sorry that we had to cancel last week. I wasn't feeling well. I hope you can see my screen.
You can.
You can? Okay, great. And so what I have from the last time we met was this set of comms here. That was on the 26th. And in this particular week or 2 week set, you know, of course, we talked to TCS about the issue that they're wanting to work on. And I think that Riff is going to try and take a look at that and collaborate, excuse me, by the end of the week. But we ended up closing out about 13 different PRs in that last set of time. And so these come from the Dash repo, the SONiC management repo, the SONiC build, you know, the Dash HA APIs. So I kind of go through a lot of different repos, picking out the ones completed for Dash. So there was a lot the last time. And also had a couple new people join from XFlow Research, but these, I hated to put this in here, a big eye chart, but these were the ones done last time. And of course, the overall notes there. So that's what happened this last time. Any comments or questions there? Okay, cool. And I was wondering if any of you are going to this open source summit in Colorado, Denver? Oh, this is near you, Dawn.
It's my neck of the woods, sure. 23, 25.
I had not planned to go to this. Mircha, is Keysight going to this or?
Probably, but not me.
Not you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just curious. And so you guys also may have seen an email or a meeting invite coming from Linux Foundation, and they're kind of overriding the top of my invite. But the problem is I don't think I have all the participants on the Linux Foundation one. So I'll work on that in the background, but we'll just use Teams if that's okay for the next couple of weeks. And so I was wondering if anyone had a PR you wanted to cover first or right away this time. So I did notice, this one was interesting, the Dash Tunnel Private Link NSG implementation. I know we'd been waiting on this one and, excuse me, and it looks like it's still open, but it also looked like at the bottom, from what I could see, the updates, it was almost ready for a merge. So that's this one here. Mukesh looked at this last week. So this one has to do with, I think this is the multiple objects, you know, from the same, yeah, it is the same SAI API. So this is what they're trying to handle in this particular one. So we had that one that I thought was fairly interesting. And then Marian, you had mentioned you might have a PR, and then I was out sick for a week, and so I didn't follow up on that. Did you have one you were going to push for floating, Nick?
Oh, there is one from Microsoft already, but I'm reviewing it. It includes multiple things, not only floating NIC.
Okay, all right. I'll go ahead and look for that one. And,
yeah, it has gNMI modes, trusted VNI. I think it's at the top of the list.
Is it the ENI mode and trusted VNI stage? Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll see if there's anything missing, and if there is, from what I did internally, I will add that.
Okay, sounds good. I just remembered there was something about that, so awesome. And excuse me, guys. I know Riff was out traveling last week, and I think he's back, but I know Jimmy Zai, his name is Junhua, he's also been completing a lot of work in the background. So, you know, I follow the repo so I can see, you know, all the changes that are being done. So he's doing a lot of work to get, he works a lot on the SAI APIs, so it's great to have him doing all that. But so, okay, I'm gonna check back on that. Okay, great. And so honestly, the work is on me this week to start going through these again and checking where we at with each of these. But I did close out the 13 that we just worked on. And I noticed these new ones coming in. These are just from the different repos, like this one's called SONiC-API here. And it just little pieces. This is Lawrence, and he's building a package for development and debugging. So in the background, this one's for HA, for example. So we want to go ahead and work on HA pieces. So these guys are doing this work, and even like adding tables for debugging and Yang model updates. This one happens to be in the SONiC build image repo. So just stuff like that to support HA. So this is what I've been going through, checking in on these. Do you guys have any questions on these? The last interesting one I saw was the Dash private link test fixes. And so this was Prabhat. It's in draft, of course. And so he wants to go ahead and, update the private link test. So,
Go to 0 with all these countries. Go to 0. That's a win. Take the win. Move on.
Yeah.
Wrong. Elon is right.
So anyway, that's kind of what I'm working on in the background this week. And do you guys have anything in particular you want to discuss, or?
We want a zero tariff situation. Again.
I want to ask some private link questions, but after
Yeah.
everyone else is done, just in case people are not interested and they want to drop.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
Mircea, for private link, you are working on the HA testing for the private link, right?
Right
Something
now,
like
I'm
this?
working on private link scaling. Let's.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
like-
private link scaling. Yeah, that's true. That will be first part. Yes.
Yeah, Michael, I actually have an extra piece of equipment coming in today to help Riff and Jing with that as well. So,
Awesome.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for joining. I didn't see you there. So yeah, so if anyone, else wants to try these, I mean, Intel's been doing it this whole time, try these tests or try, any of these APIs on their gear. I don't see anyone here from Keysight Labs, but I did notice Bud's here. They had a pretty big announcement the other week. So,
Oh, hey, Kristina.
hey.
Are you talking about the XISA?
Well, I've been talking with Ted, and so I heard that he was telling me you have some new gear coming.
Yeah, yeah. So for the X2 switch, Keysight has published basically the instruction set for it, so that third-party tools can be created for it. And then for our DPU, well, we'll have news coming pretty soon on that too.
Very cool. That's exciting. I think Ted will probably keep me pretty up to date.
I'm sure he will, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's coming into town next week. Okay, yeah, great. So, Abdul, from NVIDIA, did you have anything you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm good. I have nothing. I'll talk to you offline on any.
Okay. All right, sounds good. I should be up on campus. And sorry guys. And I think the P4 meetings, I've been trying to go ahead and attend those P4 meetings. I know the schedule had changed a little bit, but I'm trying to get back into the schedule to do that. Marcia, did you want to talk about private link then, if there's nothing else?
Sure. So these are mostly questions. Let me go from the beginning. Maybe this one. Okay. So let me try to zoom. Hopefully it's visible. So here, based on these diagrams for NVGRE portion, the source as well as the destination are the SSDP VIP in these diagrams. And basically, so this is correct, first question. Then if this is correct, then we have two loopback interfaces, yes, that we need to define, this one and this one, so we can send the routes and the traffic to it. So basically all the NVGRE traffic is going to go to this IP and originate from this IP. All the VXLAN traffic is going to originate and go to this IP. It's my understanding correctly so far?
So yeah, so the traffic so there is two things, right? So there is the idea of the floating versus the idea of
Not
basically
floating,
VM.
no,
Okay,
normal
so normal scenario when the VM originates a private link packet, right? So when the VM originates private link packet, the original packet that VM originates that is behind the smart switch is v4 packet that is encap with normal like VXLAN towards the switch, and then switch will convert will decap the VXLAN that comes from the basically VM, will take the v4 packet, convert it to v6 packet, and then encap it with this private link VXLAN. In this case, yes, the source VIP of this private link VXLAN, the SSDP will be using SSDP VIP. Yes, this will be not DPU IP. Even if this DPU IP later needs to be converted to this SS DPU VIP to be routable.
Okay. And the other question is, since this is configurable, will be a valid configuration to, if I want, just for testing, to have the same IP, basically both NVGRE endpoint and VXLAN endpoint to have the same IP? I understand they can be different, but can they be same? I mean, configuration allows me to do it,
Yes, and I think from this point of view, yes, we want to basically put there any IP potential, right? I'm not quite sure exactly how this will work from the return traffic of this kind of stuff, because this DPU IP, I don't believe it's routable outside, right?
I mean,
yeah, that's an internal.
I can make it happen, but the question is not to have something hard coded in the code, where in the actual implementation is like, if it's this IP, then do NVGRE. If you do, basically, if you have the implementation or the traffic comes on this IP, and then it looks at the packet and says like, oh, if it's this, do this decap.
Yeah.
If it's this, the other, it will work. But
I think we should support it, right? So I think we should support. We should not have like hard coded some condition that it needs to be SSDPV, right? The main stuff is that this is basically the outermost IP, right? That the traffic is coming from, right? Is this basically the identifier of basically this kind of stuff? So we should potentially support this identifier to be DPU IP and also smart switch DPV, right? For both, and we should basically be able to decap this, right? So yeah, there should be no hard coding in the firmware.
And then for the NVGRE key, whatever ID, I have two things which I observe in the API here. One was, I think, region ID or something like this, or here, local region ID under the appliance. Is this value going to be used in the NVGRE for originating or terminating part of the tunnel? I'm not
okay, so for the private for private perspective,
yes,
right? We always basically use the specific GRE key, so we don't really use this region ID there in this kind of stuff, right?
I know, but I mean, can I put here any value I want? I don't know, 999 something. And then if I put here, let's say 999, which it's a different value than, let's say, Azure uses, do I need to send, when I send the traffic, I need to send it with this key, or when the DPU sends the traffic is going to use this key? It's
no. So okay. So region ID here, right, is not part of the VXLAN. So basically
NVGRE.
Even in the NVGRE, right, the region ID is not used in the NVGRE key, right? So NVGRE key just uses this VNI identifier, right?
So where is this used then?
So
because it's mandatory. That's the other thing. So I need to use it, put it. But is there anywhere in the packet?
This is the prefix range. So basically the PA range. So I'll tell you how basically this region ID is being used, right? So the GRE key or the VNI, right? Those are 24-bit values, right?
Yes.
Which normally identifies the customer virtual network, right, or VPC circuit, right? However, those VNIs are basically, because there's only 24-bit values, there is much more virtual networks totally, right? So those 24-bit values is only unique within the region, right? So, for example, Coke and Pepsi may be using the same VNI ID in different regions. In one region, they will definitely have different IDs, right? But across region, the VNI IDs may be overlapping, right? So the unique way to identify the VPC, right, is really knowing that, hey, this is the VNI ID that invites VPC, right? And also this is the region. And region is just a reference to the table of the region to prefix list. So basically each region in Azure have some specific address range, IPv6 address range that is basically unique. So in this case, if the traffic is coming, for example, from region A, right? All this traffic coming from region A, the most outer NCAP, right, will have the addresses from that specific prefix of this region, right? Plus the VXLAN key, right? So when the traffic arrives on for example, region B, right, then this most outer source IP address is being used to look up from which region it is coming. So we have the ID, right? Plus the basically the VNI number, right? So the VNI number plus the region ID uniquely identifies the virtual network. So this is how it's being used. So basically, for the outbound, it's not really the concept. It's mostly for the point of view of inbound validation that is coming from one region versus another region to basically link to specific VPC.
I see. So this is just then internal to its tables, and the decision will be made based on the IP. It will be able to identify the correct table and then the VNI. But
yes,
the region ID is nowhere in the packet. It's
yes. So the region ID is not in the packet. Is indirectly based on the source IP, right? If the source IP is from specific prefix, right, this prefix maps to specific region, right? One region may have multiple prefixes, sure, but in general, one specific prefix maps to only one specific region.
Okay, and then the NVGRE key then comes from where it was one of these type table, VNet, service tunnel, private link. It comes from here, yeah?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Okay, so from the action 2 for the NVGRE, this, and here these IDs, I can put whatever value I want.
Exactly. So basically, this is the idea that, because this is the outbound routing table, right, that you are looking at, right? So the idea is when basic hits there, it transforms the packet like 4 to 6, right? And then does the NCAP, right? And this basically puts the specific GRE key from here, right? And then source IP is basically use the DPU source IP or this VP, this case source IP, right? And that's basically what's happening there.
Okay. All right. Now this is more of a wild question. Is there a future where there will be also a 6 to 4?
Is there a future when there will be 6 to 4 transformation? This is for the PLS. So basically this is VM to PLS, right? Which means that the VM is modeled on the smart switch, right? There is a future when we want to also model PLS behind the smart switch, so the destination entity behind the smart switch, right? This is where the reverse transformation happens.
I mean, reverse happens, but it's for the same flow. But I mean, can a flow be initiated from 6 to 4?
Can the flow be initiated from 6 to 4? No.
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying, not necessarily PLS. Some other scenario where there is a VM maybe that has an IPv6 and I don't know, wants to send it to v4 address or something.
So we actually have a scenario that for example, because here the private link, it shows basically this is the VM behind smart switch, right? That sends the destination to the PLS, right? And then the second 312 is happening basically what if once the PLS sends the reply to the VM that is behind the smart switch, right? So here in this like 3.1, the only thing that is modeled on the smart switch is really the VM. Right, it basically shows once the VM originates, this is how the packet is being kind of encoded, and basically then the PS will reply back to the VM, right? But there is a second scenario that we didn't publish yet, but is in the future, right? Which is actually modeling the private link service. So the destination site that receives this IPv6 traffic, right? And this destination site that receives this IPv6 traffic, we have actually two scenarios there. One scenario that the IPv6 traffic is just passed through directly for the basically PLS services which are IPv6 aware, right? Because some customers in Azure are on IPv6, some customers on Azure are on IPv4, right? If the customer on Azure basically creates a private link service that is IPv6 aware, right? Then the actual inner IPv6 address after all the decaps get directly delivered to the VM because the customer is IPv6 aware, right? If the customer hosts the PLS service that is not IPv6 aware and is only IPv4 aware, right? This IPv6 address is actually converted but using NAT pools, right? Because there is not enough bits, because there is enough bits to convert 4 to 6, but not enough bits to convert 6 to 4. So the 6 to 4 conversion happens through the NAT pool that whenever basically V6 address arrives, then the source IP is being dynamically converted using NAT pool to a set of IPv4 plus port on the destination side where the PLS is, and this is how the traffic later gets delivered inside this PLS service that customer is hosting, which requires this to be v4, right? So this is like the kind of like next scenario that we haven't yet discussed.
But that's a separate device, right, Michael? Not this particular DPU. That's a separate VM or another switch or any other.
So yes, it's separate stuff, but at the same point, the service that is private link service, right, can also originate traffic. So for example, someone, let's say, some service, let's say Stripe, for example, right, or some other banking application, right, may create their own private link service to expose it to the customer, right? So be receiving this 6 to 4, this IPv6 traffic, right? And then, for example, there may be before that we'll be doing this, right? But this service itself may also originate private link traffic to, for example, let's say storage, right? Or to Cosmos DB, or to SQL, or to Key Vault, and this kind of stuff, right? So one VM can be both a destination of the private link service, plus also the origination of the private endpoint traffic. So that's scenario exists and maybe behind the same DPU, right? We just didn't discuss it yet because we didn't discuss yet the private link service part, right? But in general, the VM can be both receiving the traffic as well as they can originate their own traffic.
Got
it. Thank you very much. This was very good. Now, a different topic, okay? So unless there are questions with this topic, I'll change to a different one. Let me see where.
Do we need to make a note in that doc, like create a PR to clarify anything, or are we good?
No, I think we are good.
Okay.
Because I mean, what I ask, it's a different scenario. It will have its own page and so on. So I don't think.
Yeah, but for this clarification, that for example, can the DPV be the same as DPUV, right? You can potentially create a small PR when you will clarify that potentially it's possible, right? So there should not be hard coding, right? So maybe this clarification may be needed, but it will be tiny one.
Okay, and I was looking for. Okay, for the ENI stats, okay, for SAI, and I keep looking through documentation, and I saw there is a show dash ENI, and there are some comments. I'm trying to find now the documentation. I think it was here under CLI, but maybe it's somewhere else. Yeah, here. Show dash ENI and so on. But there is no show dash ENI counters. It's routes, ACLs, and so on. So what will be the correct show dash ENI to access the ENI counters, the stats? Maybe that will have to be added.
To be honest, most likely it should be added, and I will defer here to SONiC team who kind of proposed those kind of show dash commands. And most likely, yes, we should have something to show dash ENI counters.
Okay.
Both for the ENI as well as for some counters for entire DPU, right? Because I understand that there are like some counters, like for example, CPU utilization of the entire DPU, or potentially maybe some DPU global metrics, not only per ENI metrics. I'm assuming that those two commands most likely should be added. So Kristina, we can, if you can take a note that potentially they were guided to add two commands like show dash ENI counters per ENI and show kind of dash counters for entire DPU, and that's potentially someone from Prince team should add.
I mean, show interface counters, that's standard SONiC underlay kind of that works, let's say.
Okay.
But this was referring to ENI, and then these commands are to be issued on the smart switch on the NPU, and then we need the DPU ID, or this are going to be in the SONiC that runs in the DPU itself?
To be honest, I don't have preference from my perspective. I will defer to whatever SONiC. Yeah. So Mircea, I would defer to whatever SONiC team believes is the correct way, because at the end we are modeling this on top of SONiC, right? So if they believe, because at the end we will be issuing them most likely through some remote command, right? I'm not quite sure how, because logging into the switch usually should be avoided from the point of view of the compliance, right? So there will be a way to log into the switch in production that we will have, but mostly there will be some application with like whitelisted set of commands that we can execute remotely, and however they will be routed internally, that I don't know. I believe, considering what we have right now, that is not on Dash yet, right? Those kind of commands of the ENI usually are executed in the context of the DPU. So usually they are executed directly on the DPU. So we still need to SSH to the specific DPU and then execute this kind of stuff, right? So at least this is how it works right now for similar commands, right? I'm not quite sure if, I believe this we should keep, whether basically SONiC team wants to build some additional abstractions so they can be executed also from the NPU side, that's fine, right? But at the end they will be going towards some specific DPU, right? So for sure they should be on the DPU.
Okay. Yeah, because if it's NPUs, then we need also a DPU ID or something.
Yeah, exactly. I believe this will be in the context of the specific DPU inside the DPU, right? I'm not quite sure if they'll be building some up. Yeah.
And now this is most, if I'm running SONiC in the DPU and I try to fetch these stats via SAI, since there is no utility, this code is not ready yet. And I did something which I think it's correct, but SyncD didn't like it and crashed. Should I open a bug in community or should I talk with the vendor?
I would say,
what will be the process to?
I would say if there is a crash, for sure you find the bug. You should file the bug, right? We don't want to have any crashes, right?
And that will be SONiC management or which repo of SONiC?
I would say I think it depends.
Like SyncD crashing.
SyncD crashes. Then my guess it will be generic SONiC bug. That will be, I think, SONiC management.
Oh, so SONiC management, so under the test.
Yeah. I believe the SyncD is still managed by Gohan and Prince, I think. So I believe it's SONiC management. If SyncD crashes, yes.
Yeah, and let's say if SyncD crashes, I saw then it tries to recover itself. They are trying to start the content, but it doesn't recover.
Basically, it's a bug. It's a bug.
No, forget about the crash. I'm talking about the recovering, because I noticed that if you have a DPU and you just reboot that DPU, just go in it and you just say shut down, reboot, or power it on, power it off. I feel like the system is not coming back. It doesn't know to pull the data back from the database, resynchronize everything, and so on. And I understand, it's not a GA release.
Then open a bug also against Prince. And his
okay.
Because yeah, I would believe it's SONiC management.
But the expectation is that it should come up. If it crashes and so on, it should recover at least.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Because it will have to pull back the config from the NPU database, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, if the data is on the NPU side, right, it should definitely after startup it should basically synchronize and recover. If it doesn't recover and checks for explicit push, I'm surprised. So it should recover.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, those are cool bugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
open this. Assign this to Prince.
Private link works for me, so you know.
Cool.
It's great.
Thank you for doing all that work, Marsha.
There will be more questions and more stuff.
Yeah, and Marisha, tell me one thing: the private link test that you have, right? They don't include yet redirect map, right? The redirect table.
I can
probably not.
Yeah, I can show the example. I can put it on the screen if.
But you are not populating any redirect table objects, right?
The redirect map is not yet available in SONiC.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool. That kind of like answered the question. Cool, awesome. So I think we should being basically Riff whenever redirect map will be implemented on the SONiC, because then we should basically add also tests for this scenario and the private link also.
Okay.
Yeah, I know he completed some SAI entries this morning, PR 2158 under Open Compute, but I don't know that that's for redirect map. I'll check it. And I guess if no one else has anything, I guess Rimsha Syed, I guess you're new from XFlow Research. Did you have any questions overall in general about the project or what we're doing or anything? Okay, sounds.
Yeah.
Oh, hi,
Hello.
hi, Rosie.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm going fine. Yes, she'll be working with me, so we are just exploring a few things. So hopefully a few things coming up. Yes.
Okay, great. Well, we appreciate you coming. That's really all I have for today. It's 9:34, and it's nice to get time in between meetings. If you'd like the time back, I can close the recording and I can send out notes as normal. Does that work for you guys? Yeah. Okay.
I think it's good.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks everyone for your time. Thanks for coming. Have a great day, and reach out to me over email or anything if you need me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristina. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thank
bye,
you.
everybody.
Thank you, Kristina.
Thanks,
Bye.
Kristina.
Kristina.